Right now you are warm. There's a wall around you. Maybe a heater humming somewhere. A jacket hanging by the door. You never think about it. Warmth is just there. Now take it all away. The walls, the heater, the jacket, even the house. Now drop the temperature. Not to a cold winter night. Drop it to 40 degrees below zero and keep it there for thousands of years. This was the world your ancestors were born into. A world buried under ice. A world where the cold wanted you dead. And here's the part that should stop you. They had no heaters, no jackets from a store, no houses with locked doors. Most people assume they just huddled in caves and barely survived. But that's not what happened. They didn't barely survive. They conquered the ice. And the way they did it is one of the most impressive survival stories in human history. Stay with me because by the end you'll realize their secret is still hiding inside your own body right now. Let's go back. About 20,000 years ago. Scientists call it the last glacial maximum. It was the coldest point of the last ice age. And the planet looked nothing like today. Giant sheets of ice covered Europe. They covered Asia. They covered much of North America. Ice over a mile thick. Imagine a wall of frozen white taller than any building you've ever seen. Stretching to the horizon in every direction. The sea levels dropped. Whole landscapes turned to frozen desert. And in the middle of this, there were humans. Not many. Small scattered groups trying to stay alive in a world that was actively trying to freeze them solid. So how do you survive that? With no technology, no electricity, no supermarket. Let's find out. The first answer seems obvious. Fire. And yes, fire was everything. But here's what's fascinating. Fire wasn't new to them. Humans had been controlling fire for hundreds of thousands of years. By the Ice Age they were masters of it. This wasn't just rubbing two sticks and hoping. They knew exactly how to build it, how to feed it, how to carry it, how to keep an ember alive for days while they traveled. Fire gave them three things at once: heat to survive the night, light to push back the long dark winters, and cooked food, which gave their bodies more energy from every bite. Think about what fire really was to them. It wasn't a luxury, it was the line between life and death. A group that lost its fire in deep winter could be dead by morning, so they guarded it like the most precious thing they owned, because it was. But fire alone could not save them, because you can't carry a fire on your back while you hunt. You can't sleep inside a flame. So, they needed something else, and this is where it gets clever. They invented clothing, but not the simple animal skin you're picturing. Here's the thing most people get wrong: draping a raw animal hide over your shoulders barely helps. The cold still creeps in through every gap. What you really need is fitted clothing, sealed clothing, clothing that traps a layer of warm air against your skin. And to make that, you need one specific tool, the needle, a real-eyed sewing needle. And archaeologists have found them. Bone needles over 40,000 years old, found in places like Siberia, some of the coldest places humans have ever lived. Think about how big that is. The needle is one of the most important survival inventions in all of history. It let humans sew animal skins into tight, layered, tailored outfits: hoods, sleeves, trousers, boots. Basically, they invented the world's first winter coats. And we know they were good at it. But here's the proof that should blow your mind. There's a place in Russia called Sungur, a burial site over 30,000 years old. And in those graves, archaeologists found something incredible: thousands of tiny ivory beads arranged in lines across the bodies. And the way they were arranged told a story. Those beads had been sewn onto fitted clothing. Jackets, caps, pants, even boots. We're talking thousands of beads on a single outfit, each one carved by hand. This wasn't survival rags, this was tailored, decorated, sophisticated winter gear, made by people we wrongly imagined as primitive cavemen. They weren't primitive at all. They were skilled. They were clever and they dressed for the cold better than you might on a bad winter day. But clothing and fire still leave one huge problem. Where do you actually live? Because remember, in much of this frozen world, there were no caves. The famous cave paintings make us think everyone lived in caves, but caves were rare. Most of the Ice Age was open frozen plains. So humans did something amazing. They built houses and not from wood because in many places there were almost no trees. So they used the one giant resource the land gave them, mammoths. There's a site in Ukraine called Mezhirich, around 15,000 years old, and their archaeologists found homes built from mammoth bones. Huge curved tusks forming doorways, skulls, and jawbones stacked into walls. The bones of dozens of mammoths in a single hut covered over with hides to seal out the wind. Imagine walking up to one of these, a dome of giant bones, smoke rising from the top, warm light glowing from inside. This was a house, a real, engineered, insulated shelter in the middle of a frozen wasteland. These people were not wandering helplessly in the snow. They were building homes out of the biggest animals on Earth, but even with fire, clothing, and shelter, there was still one more enemy, and it was the deadliest of all, hunger. In winter, plants vanish. No fruit, no vegetables, no grain. The ground is frozen solid. So what do you eat for months on end? The answer is meat, and specifically fat. This is something we forget today. For Ice Age humans, fat was not the enemy. Fat was survival. Fat has more than twice the energy of anything else they could eat, and in brutal cold, your body burns energy at a shocking rate. Just staying warm can burn thousands of extra calories a day. So they hunted the biggest, fattest animals they could find: mammoths, wild horses, reindeer, bison. A single mammoth could feed a group for weeks, and they didn't waste a scrap. The meat was food, the fat was fuel, the bones became homes and tools, the hides became clothing and walls. One animal, and almost every part of it kept them alive. Now, here's where it gets even smarter. What do you do with all that meat when you can't eat it fast enough? You let the cold work for you. The frozen world became their refrigerator. They buried meat in the ice to save it for the hungry months. Nature gave them a freezer, and they used it. So, they had fire, clothing, shelter, and food. But, here's the part almost nobody talks about. The final survival tool wasn't a tool at all. It was their own body, because your body has secret weapons against the cold, and you're carrying them right now. When you get cold, your blood vessels tighten near your skin. This pulls your warm blood deep inside, protecting your heart and your brain first. It's why your fingers and toes go numb before anything else. Your body is making a choice. Sacrifice the edges, save the core. You shiver, and shivering isn't random. It's your muscles firing rapidly to generate heat. Your body literally turning movement into warmth. And there's something even stranger. You have a special kind of fat. It's called brown fat, and unlike normal fat, it doesn't store energy. It burns it, purely to make heat. Babies are packed with it, and people exposed to cold can build more of it. Scientists today are still studying how powerful this hidden system is. Your ancestors lived in this state for generations, and slowly their bodies adapted. Stockier builds to hold heat, better circulation, survival written into their very flesh. The cold didn't just shape how they lived, it shaped what they became. And here's the truth that ties it all together. Surviving the Ice Age was never about one thing. It wasn't just fire, or just clothing, or just shelter. It was all of it, layered together, a complete survival system, knowledge passed from parent to child for thousands of years. Each generation a little smarter, a little warmer, a little harder to kill, and every single one of them succeeded. How do we know? Because you are here reading this right now. Every person alive today is descended from the ones who didn't freeze, the ones who kept the fire alive, the ones who learned to sew, the ones who built homes from bone.